connection. So, hello. If you have not already watched the interview on the Breakfast Club with Byron Allen, you definitely want to watch that interview. It's uploaded on YouTube in its entirety to the fullest. He spoke a lot of things about wealth and wealth building, especially for, the black community. And he also talked about having access to capital, right? And how he went from bankruptcy, from bankruptcy to now a billionaire. But I think the most important subject that was brought out, it was so many important things that were brought out in that interview, such as his interview with Coretta Scott King and her revealing to him the true reason why Martin Luther King was assassinated. It wasn't about segregation. It wasn't. But another important thing that came out of that interview, I think is most important of all of that. All of it was important, right? Especially because I talk to my co-workers and I tell them Martin Luther King, JFK, all of them was assassinated because of the monetary system, right? Even JFK, he wanted to put the dollar back on the gold standard that Richard Nixon had taken off the gold standard in 71. And so John F. Kennedy wanted to put the dollar back on the gold standard. He wanted to help eradicate poverty. Thank you for the digital love. And those are the underlying reason for, their assassination. And what a lot of people don't understand is that whenever you're fighting a fight to help people financially, that's one of the most, I think people think it's spiritual fight is the most difficult fight to fight, but the financial fight, when you're helping people and I do in the credit world, help them build better credit, and that's the harder fight to fight, because the powers that be, my coworkers say, oh, you're just a part of the conspiracy theory, but the powers that be, once you start exposing and helping people eradicate poverty or position themselves better financial. And that's why the Bible states that the love of money is the root of all evil. That's the real reason why. Because anyone that's a financial freedom, right, from the government, anyone that's a financial freedom fighter will get more opposition, even it meaning their lives being taken from the government than any other fight, right? Freeing people financially. But this is for blacks. You need to know this. He brought out on that interview that November 13th, he has to go before the Supreme Court against Comcast, because Comcast is a $1 trillion industry, right? And they offer zero of those dollars in support of black media. So none of that money is going back into the black communities. And we have so many people that are subscribing or paying for Comcast cable. But the real big thing about that is that he won twice in the circuit courts. And Comcast wants to now take it to the Supreme Court. But taking this case to the Supreme Court now has to be filed under the Civil Rights Act that was established. For example, if you were African American and you got fired from your job and you felt like it was because of discrimination, right? That you can take that job, or you can take that employer to court based off your Civil Rights Act, right? So after we were released from slavery, free from slavery. We were assets as slaves. We were assets, right? We were used for our labor to make the powers that be, the slave owners, money, the United States money. You know, they become rich and wealthy out of years of our free labor. So once slavery ended, we now became a liability, meaning that we could start producing and making money for ourselves, right, and not for them. And this is why the civil rights was brought into act, right, to help us be able to use our civil rights to fight against discrimination, even discrimination in the workplace. Well, now this court battle that Byron Allen is fighting against Comcast is putting that civil rights law. If he loses against Comcast, that civil rights law will no longer be in place. Meaning that you as African Americans and minorities, you don't have that law in support of you anymore if you get fired from your job for discrimination. This is one of the areas that it covers. So you all definitely need to watch that interview. He talks about a lot of things financially, but I think those two things and bringing out why Martin Luther King was really killed were the most important. But, you know, one of the things that he discussed and specifically is that blacks don't know how to get capital or access to capital, which is capital is just plainly sent other people's money to help them build wealth. He talked about how he borrowed $300 billion, not his own money, somebody else's money. He's able to obtain capital to purchase the Weather Channel. And that's why I preach and teach all the time that credit is for poor people. You have to get your credit in position. If you ever want to be, you know, I tell the students or the youth that I teach, we call it rich. And I repeat rich all the time because the Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, right? So he said that twice. So I say rich twice because you have to double, right? Double your income, use your credit as leverage to get capital into your life. And so many people just put credit on the back end, especially in the black community, and they treat it as if it's just something that, hey, I don't need, it doesn't matter as long as I get a paycheck. Well, having your credit intact and check will stop you from having to live paycheck to paycheck. And it can position you, right? It can position you to make investments. During, for example, the Great Depression, when the economy crashes, the worst crash that has ever occurred. Everybody's predicting that the next economy crash is going to be tit for tat for the Great Depression that's forthcoming in the next couple of months, because now student loans and car repossession in 2008, it was just real estate. Now you got to add real estate, homes, student loans, and car repossession all into the mix of this next upcoming crash. But when you have your credit in position and you can obtain the bank's money or other people's money, right? He went to a, one of the things, I mean, he said so many different things. You really need to watch that. He said, you know, making money is easy, but it's the mindset. He talks about, for example, that we have $20 trillion in our financial system, the government. And he also discussed that there are no blacks, no African Americans over this $20 trillion. And when he supported President or former President Barack Obama presidency, he supported him financially. He just asked Obama to put some blacks over this $20 trillion that the government has in our financial system to lend out to entrepreneurs. And he said that didn't happen, right? But, you know, he supported Obama. He put him in office. But there at the time, even now, there's still no blacks in charge over the distribution of this money that the government has to give to entrepreneurs to invest and make them better. And, you know, also, I think I left out, also important, Donald Trump, he wrote a amicus brief in support of Comcast, Donald Trump and his administration, knowing that it could take away black civil rights. He did this in support of Comcast, knowing that our civil rights was at stake. So not only do you all need to look at your credit, but you need to get out and vote. And some more things that he brought out. I mean, it's a very, very deep interview, but he talked about people or churches and classrooms that are just religiously not teaching people or not teaching students or youth financial education. And that's, you know, really done on purpose, right? They don't want to teach you the ways to have good credit and the importance of good credit and how to use your credit to get more cash flow and more capital in your life. And, you know, all of that church, you know, uses much of religion. I'm not saying you don't tithe or don't give your 10%, but it doesn't stop with that. And I'm just a strong believer that anytime you are a recipient or receiving any type of money, whether it's in business, whether it's for nonprofit or for profit, that, you know what, takes some responsibility, but especially with the church, because the Bible is the #1, the best-selling book about prosperity and how not to live in poverty or not live paycheck to paycheck. So I think it's the church's responsibility to teach our parts of the Bible, not just the giving part, but the receiving part, because the receiving part is in the Bible. So again, watch that. You all really know that President Trump is signed off with this, wrote a brief in support of Comcast, and it means your civil rights. So I hope that you know, helps you in voting and, you know, in getting a new president in that wouldn't be in support of that, right? And other than that, I'm signing off. Just go watch that interview. You need to watch it, and you need to share it, and you need to share this video on your page so people will know to watch it, right? So November 13th, I think, if you are black and you are a minority and you are in position to get our civil rights taken, you definitely need to be praying for a good outcome, a great outcome rather, for Byron Allen, and also for yourself and your family and your children, your nieces, nephews, whoever, right, if you're a minority. So definitely be in prayer for that case that's taking place November 13th. Hey, I'm signing off.